Hey grade 8s, welcome back to WorksheetCloud. This is grade 8 English and I'm Mrs. Goslet. I will be teaching you English and today we are doing one of my favorite lessons or favorite books or novels. If you have a question during the lesson, please send us an email at grade8@worksheetcloud.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you can grab a notebook and pen for me, or a piece of paper is fine. You can make notes, you can write things down, or you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the lesson. So I already shared with you, this is my all-time favorite novel to do. I actually did this in grade 8. I loved it, and I was so happy when I became an English teacher that we did it. Obviously, you know, books change. I don't know if you know this, but every 4 years they change it. So I'll be very sad when this one leaves. But I love the reaction or the engagement my learners have with this novel. There's nothing better than starting the introduction, which we're doing today. And the next day, my learners are so excited. They have their books. They are ready to start reading. Then when we start reading, they struggle a bit because we'll go through it as well. There's a bit of an accent. And then once they get into it, oh, boy, do they nag me, because we have planners. And so you can't just do chapter 1 to chapter 50. You have to do some English. Listen to me. You've got to do some language, some writing, some other literature. But no, every single day, Ma'am, are we doing Goodnight Mr Tom? Ma'am, are we doing Goodnight Mr Tom? Ma'am, are we... And I'm just like, guys. But it really warms my heart because there's nothing better than learners walking in, getting excited about a book. So if you haven't read it yet, please do yourself a favor. Read Goodnight Mr Tom. You won't regret it. So I'm going to just do an introductory video and then I'll see, we can maybe do some characters and symbols and looking at the plot, because you wouldn't have read the book. Some of you might have, which is great, and this will just be a refresher for you. So there is a movie. I actually have never seen it before. Maybe I should watch it, but the book, please, rather read the book for me. So London is on the brink of World War II. William, this boy over here, is evacuated to the English countryside. At first, he's terrified of everything. This is Mr. Tom. He looks after him. And after a while, William has to return to London to go home. His mom has requested. And then something happens where weeks pass by and Mr. Tom doesn't hear from him. And Mr. Tom then sets out, jumps on a train, and goes to see what has happened to this boy. So that's where I'm leaving you. I'm not giving anything else away. But we're going to look at certain settings and the time. And why must he get evacuated? Why must he stay with this old man? Why does this old man have to take him in? So we're going to look. So I've got a picture of the countryside because that's what happens. Will has to leave London where he lives to go to the countryside. So this was protection during the war. Children were evacuated from the big cities to go to the countryside. Hitler wanted to subdue Britain and focused his attention on destroying London. So it wasn't safe for them to live there anymore. It was called the Blitz, of London. That could be quite a scary picture, but it was the only one I could find. So, gas masks. So we can relate to these children, sort of, although we're not fearing of being bombed by a gas bomb or an actual bomb. but we have to protect ourselves from a virus. So we have to wear a mask. So just like these children living in the countryside, when you went outside, you had to wear a gas mask in case that a bombing occurred randomly, and then you had your gas mask and you could put it on. They got trained, just like I've been trained. Very interesting, how to actually wear a face mask, how to touch it, because we get very itchy underneath it. So it's always very important to understand how to wear it. That's probably easier. You just put it on. Difficult for children though. Children were massively affected by World War II. Rationing, okay, that's where you ration the food. Gas mask lessons, so they had to learn how to use it, when to use it, Living with a stranger. So can you imagine living at home with your mom, your dad, or whoever, granny, and then all of a sudden you must leave, you must go to a different place, you're used to the city, you must go to the countryside and live with a complete stranger. They're going to take you in and care for you. Not easy, but it was war, so they had to do what they had to do. 2 million people were evacuated from their homes. Blackouts. So all windows and doors were blacked out to prevent planes or bombers from seeing the light above. So this was very clever, because if a plane just flew over and looked down, you can see the light, the city lights, or your home light, because normal curtains don't block out the light. So that's why these thick curtains had to be put up every night, so that you can live inside and carry on and function normally. And obviously you would do this every day, because you want the light to shine in, or you don't want your house to be dark, pitch dark. So here we have an air raid shelter. I'm going to show you what it looks like from the top or on the ground. But as you can see, they're all squished into here. So what happens is there would be a siren that goes off, and it rings to tell people that they must go to the nearest air raid shelter, and this was under the ground, because maybe they got a signal or information was said that they're going to be bombed. So this was the safest place to be when the bombings occurred, because you're underground. And here they're giving them sandwiches. Okay, so in Mr. Tom, there's a part where Mr. Tom asked Will to build an air raid shelter. So it was important that you had one near to you, or that you had one in your own yard. So let me just move my face so you can see better. So this is sort of what it looks like. So you see there's the ground, and there's a little hole that you must go into. This one looks a bit better. This is maybe just for a family of 4, because you can just slip through there quickly. But this looks a bit easier to get into. Okay. So the bombing. German bombers made terrifying raids. Railways, harbors, houses, industrial areas, civilian areas. So they were ruthless. Normally when you go to war, you fight against soldiers. The fighter pilots will go and they fight each other. The army men will go, but now they are just taking out harbors, and they're hitting London where it hurts, the city. They don't care about children. They don't care about women. So they wanted to hurt them. Okay, there's just another image. Night after night, for 2 months, the bombers returned to London. St. Thomas Hospital, St. Paul Cathedral, and Buckingham Palace were all hit. Okay, the destruction. I try to get a nice picture to show you the absolute chaos and destruction that was caused. Many innocent people were killed. Between September to November 1940, almost 30,000 bombs were dropped on London. In the first 30 days, 6,000 people were killed and many others were badly injured. Okay, so it's just to show you that it was a time of war. That's why William could not stay in London, and he's just one of the kids who was evacuated. I'm going to show you a bit later how many kids actually were evacuated. I think I might have mentioned it. So suffering and hardships. Families were broken up as men were sent to the front lines. That's obviously where they fought, the areas of conflict, to fight, and some never returned. So the men had to go and fight in the war. The moms, had to look after their households, and a lot of the time they could only send their kids away because it's just too many people to move, and they wanted to save the younger kids, and that's why they were broken up. And remember, Mr. Tom, let's say he indicates to the person who's allocating the children that she can only take one. That he could only take one child. And a lot of the time this happened, they could only take one. And then let's say the village fills up, and then they have enough. Now you and your brother might end up going to different towns because you can't be with the same person and that village or that town is full. I know I would have hated it because when I was younger, I couldn't do anything without my brother. I couldn't ask an adult a question. I had to hold on to him and look at him and him. Yeah, I was very, very shy when I was younger. It's so funny because I'm not shy now. It's funny how we change. And I'm sidetracked. Okay. It's one of those days. Okay, this is what I want to tell you. Children. So 1.9 million children gathered at a railway stations in September, not knowing where they're going to go. So as you can see here, all the parents are waving goodbye to their children, not knowing, if they are going to survive and not knowing if their kids are going to be okay. They obviously could write to one another, and that's what they did. And as I explained, siblings were separated because sometimes there just wasn't enough space in a certain village, and many people in the village had their own children. They would also take kids in, but it wasn't always viable. Then the Germans failed to break the will of the English. So the English were not going to go down without a fight. They kept fighting back. Hitler realized they could not sustain the losses that the Royal Air Force were inflicting on them, and he ended the Blitz. So London and England so the English did really well to fight back, but they also suffered a great deal. A lot of destruction happened. So we're going to watch a very short clip of, this is sort of the movie. It's a little bit of a trailer, Goodnight Mr Tom trailer, but there's not much speaking, so it's not really a trailer. But I want to show you the countryside and just what it sort of all looks like. Mr. Tom is, when we meet him, he's a very grumpy old man. But when you read more into the book, you'll find out why he's like that. And William, when we meet him, he looks pale, but very sickly, like he hasn't seen the sun. Okay, I know what you're all thinking. He lives in England, there's not much sun. But, more so on the sickly side. He's very thin. His hair's it doesn't look rich in color, so they explain it to you in a very good detail or descriptions that he's not, it almost seems like he doesn't look after himself. He's not very strong. Also, when we first find out about him, he's scared of everything. He's scared of the dog. He doesn't know what a dog is. He's only seen the dog in pictures. And so that's why I love this story, is because Mr. Tom shows him a whole new world. I just love that he can run outside and play, and he has friends. But in England or in London, he actually doesn't have friends. And I love the transformation that happens. I won't give too much away, but I think I will later on in our lessons. And I love the transformation. I love any good transformation story. And just spending time with Mr. Tom, Will changes into being more confident, more outgoing. He has, as I mentioned, he has more friends. And I just love the village community, that everybody helps everybody. There's the doctor that they all see. Mr. Tom takes him specifically to a lady to get him a jersey knitted, or I can't remember. Can you believe I've been reading this book for years and years and years, and I can't remember that detail. But I just love that, what I was saying, the transformation, but also not just Will changes, but Mr. Tom changes. So when you meet him, he's very grumpy, he's very closed off. It's just him and his dog, and he doesn't really get involved in the community. People leave him be because he wants to be left alone. And this boy changes his world. It is so beautiful. And the relationship that they have and the love that they share, and it's beautiful. So let's just watch this trailer quickly before I talk the whole time about this book. I can't really move myself away. Sorry about that.
Exist between us.
Okay, so obviously they're just promoting the movie, but it's really, really a good story. You really there's another character called Zach, and he is the total opposite of William. And I also love that in life we do have friends who are sometimes the complete opposite of us, but there's this common interest. And Zach is out there, he's outgoing. And this is Zach's first really good friend. So their relationship is also very special. And he accepts William for who he is. Introverted, really good at drawing, he loves painting. This is William. And Zach loves to act. And they come together in such a beautiful way. So it's a lovely story about friendship and family and love. And yeah, I've just told you the good parts. I haven't spoiled anything, which is so good, because my learners will tell you that I spoil the book the moment they walk into class. Not so much Goodnight Mr. Tom, but with Shakespeare I usually just say the whole plot and I explain it, because Shakespeare is quite difficult to read and understand. So I prefer my learners or you guys to have a general understanding. So when we look at Midsummer Night's Dream, which I'm sure you guys are very excited about, I love it, and that's actually quite a nice movie to watch as well, but you won't understand it because it's all in English. Where's my brain today? In Elizabethan language, or Shakespeare, you know, that language. Phew, okay, I apologize. So that's our lesson. We always do a little bit of motivation. So I thought, let's look at this. Let no one discourage your ambitious attitude. You don't need a fan club to achieve your goals. Be your own motivation. Especially in this time, we need some motivation to get up and to get going. If we have goals and dreams, or if we just want to achieve something small, we can motivate ourselves. We don't need a fan club, but it's really nice to have people to support you and be behind you. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you go and pick up Goodnight Mr Tom and read it. Go look in your mom's library, maybe she has it. Go look in the library at school when you eventually get back to school, or yeah. I'm Mrs. Goslet. Thanks so much for watching Grade 8's. This lesson was brought to you by WorksheetCloud, and I'll see you soon. Bye.